Here we're being asked to solve each equation for x. We have two equations. Let's work with this one first. It says 4 times x minus 5 plus 2 times x equals negative 35. Whenever you see an equation like this, as they start getting longer, you can start realizing that more terms have an x, or a variable. In this case, we have two terms that have an x. We hadn't seen that before. So the first thing you got to notice is that these two terms with an x, or the variable, are on the same side of the equation. Some students like to draw a little line like this so they can clearly tell what's on each side. You don't have to, but it's an option. So because these two terms are on the same side, we just treat this like an expression like we did in 3.1. We're just going to simplify this side of the equation first. We're going to combine 4x plus 2x, and that's going to give us 6x right there. 6x, leave the minus 5 there. Minus 5 equals, leave everything else the way it was. So once you do this, you now have 6 times x minus 5 equals negative 35. So the 4x plus 2x, or 4 times x plus 2 times x, is just 6 times x. At this point, it becomes just a regular two-step equation like the ones we did before. If you want to know what x is, you just want to get that 5, combine it with that 35. So what we're going to do there is we're going to add 5 to both sides. We want to get the x term alone, remember that. So on this side we have 6x, where that purple line is your equals. Negative 35 plus 5, you're going to have negative 30. We will subtract, keep the larger. And our last step here will be to divide by 6. 6 times x equals negative 30, so you divide by 6. 6 divided by 6 is just 1, so it's just 1x, or x. Negative 30 divided by 6 is negative 5. So this is the answer to the equation, and if you want to check your work, this is how you would do it. You would write 4 times negative 5. I'm plugging in the negative 5 right there for x. Minus 5 plus 2 times negative 5 equals negative 35. This is negative 20 minus 5. This is going to be minus 10, or it's really plus negative 10. It's the same thing. But if you notice, combine all this, because you're minus negative 20, take away 5 more, take away 10 more, you're actually taking away 35. So notice it actually works out. So the answer is negative 5, but the thing I want to emphasize on this problem is our two variable terms were on the same side. I want us to now look at this other one, solve for x in this equation. I'm going to put a little line here for the first few problems, and then I'll stop. What I want you to realize here is that we have 9 times x minus 5 has to equal to 6 times x plus 7. And our job is to figure out what is this value of x that will make this true. So because at this point our x terms are not on the same side, we cannot combine them. We need to move or eliminate the x's from one of these sides. Now whichever one you do, it's up to you what you want to do. It doesn't matter if you move the 9x or the 6x, but the idea is you got to eliminate one of the x's from one of the sides. So you got to eliminate one of the terms. The way you always eliminate or move a term, if some students will say move, it's really eliminate, is you always add or subtract. If you want to move a term, what I mean by a term is either the 6x, the 7, the 5, or the 9x, the entire term, you'll always add or subtract, because all of the terms are separated by addition or subtraction, so the opposite will always be addition or subtraction. So if I want to move that 6x or eliminate it, then I must subtract 6x on this side. It's almost like if I was also writing it, if you don't like to write it on the bottom, you can write it back here. Minus 6x on this side of the equation, but then I have to do minus 6x on this side of the equation. When you do that and combine, 6x minus 6x will be 0x. We eliminated on that side. That's what we wanted to do. On the other side, when we combine 9x minus 5 minus 6x, well, 9x minus 6x is really 3x. Leave that 5 there, leave your equals. Now keep in mind here that the 6x is gone, so it's just a 7. I didn't want to draw a line through it. But it's 6x minus 6x is gone. It's 0x. Once you get your x terms together, now it's just a matter of solving for x. 3 times x minus 5 equals 7. So if you want to solve for x, you want to get the x term, this term alone, so we need to move this term across so we can combine those two terms. The idea for these problems, y'all, is you want your x terms on one side of the equation and you want your constant terms on the other side of the equation. That's 12 3 times x equals 12. At this point, you could just say it's 4 because you can already tell. But if you want to carry out the process, if it's 3 times x equals 12, then you divide by 3. It's the opposite of multiplying by 3, and you'll figure out the value of x. X equals 4. If I wanted to check my work, and I encourage you to do so, I'm going to squeeze it in down here. I plug in a 4 there and there. 9 times 4 minus 5 has to equal to 6 times 4 plus 7. I'm running out of room here, so I'm going to write it small. 36 minus 5 has to equal to 24 plus 7. 36 minus 5 is 31. 24 plus 7 is 31. So we just found out that if x takes on the value of 4, then this side of the equation will be identical to this side of the equation. So that's what our value of x must be. Keep in mind the difference between these two problems. In this problem, our variable terms were on the same side, so we simply combined them. In this problem, they were on different sides, so I had to eliminate or move one of the terms.